So that'd probably be the best way to describe it. But like I said, I mean, you guys have totally just transformed our numbers. I mean, from an outbound dial perspective, we're doing almost 4x of what we did previously. So again, dollar for dollar, a little more than 2x at this point, but I imagine that'll continue to increase.
All right, folks, we're back for another episode today. I got a good one for you guys today. A really interesting case study. We're going to go into detail about how this team has implemented the ISA model. We've got Jordan here from the Wealth Factory. So Jordan, why don't you do a quick intro? Give us the your background. What did the team do? Tell us about your place in the industry. Go for it.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, Gustavo. You and the company has been absolutely amazing for us. And kind of like you're saying, I'm Jordan. I'm the director of sales here at Wealth Factory, and we're actually a financial education company. So we call on entrepreneurs and business owners and teach them how to be smarter with their money. Whether that's in regards to cash flow, taxes, investments, or whatever it is to get them to a higher level of wealth. And the team we had, it was pretty small. We had two closers and three local setters here in the U.S. But we kind of got to a point where we had so many leads that we just didn't have anyone to call them. So we kind of started exploring options in terms of international callers or remote callers. And I think the reason that we decided to go international is I think we're able to get not only the same, if not more results, while having a lower payroll cost. And that was kind of one of the main reasons we were looking at international callers. Um, but from there, we got in contact with you guys. You gave us a handful of candidates that we were able to pick from, which was awesome. We were able to see different personalities and kind of see them before we actually made the decision on who we wanted to move forward with. And then in terms of the process and kind of where they fit in, we were looking at these callers at the front end of our sales process. And we call them pre-setters, if you will. But their whole role is to outbound 2 to 10 minute conversations to lists we give them. And all they're doing is setting appointments up for our setters. And like I said, I mean, the results that we've got, I mean, it's only been a number of weeks, but the results we've gotten are phenomenal. The two callers that we hired, they've made several deals that have brought revenue to the company directly that we wouldn't have had otherwise. And I can talk more about the second round, but the first round went even better than we expected.
Yeah, I love it, and for a lot of teams that, that when because from what you're describing, everyone was US based. This are the first, outside a country, maybe even the first remote members of your team. That's always a little bit of a leap of faith, right? It's always a little bit of a stretch. You want to describe a little bit what the concerns were, what were some of those, because I think every team goes through this. They're not sure, should I hire someone remote? Is it going to be the same quality? Am I going to have any issues? Someone outside the country, outside my area, they're not coming into the office every day. Tell us a little bit about what some of those concerns were and how you guys were able to mitigate that.
For sure. Well, I'll tell you, I mean, first and foremost, I think our main concern and hesitation in this whole process was we were just under the assumption that these international callers, they would be heavy on their accent. But after watching a few of the videos and actually doing the interviews, the guys that we were able to bring on, they have very little accent. So I think that was one of the preconceived kind of notions that I think our company had is, if they're international, they're going to have a thick accent, especially calling our entrepreneurs and business owners, that could be a little off-putting. But going through this process, we found candidates that have little to no accent, and speak, I mean, way better than we even anticipated. So I'd say the accent was one of our concerns that as we got down the path, it kind of resolved its own. But two, kind of to your point, Gustavo, I think we were worried about the kind of lack of control with these callers being remote, especially with it being our first remote employee. We just weren't sure, like, are they going to be able to clock in on time? Are they going to clock out? Are they going to take advantage of their breaks or their lunches? But fortunately, thank you to PowerISA, they have a really nice system in place that kind of holds the reps accountable. And they sort of do that, like PowerISA, you guys are able to do that on your own in a sense where I don't have to worry about the rep being accountable. So I'd say those are the two things, the accent and the accountability and then being remote, which again, I think PowerISA did a tremendous job in helping overcome.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. But that's those are usually the biggest concerns. You nailed it, right? Those are usually the two biggest ones. It is the whole remote concept. How can I have someone that's remote? How to make sure they're actually, full utilization, they're actually doing their job. If they're not in the office every day. My typical system of accountability, part of it is literally seeing them come in, right? Like clock in on time and then clock out and doing the activity. I think people can take that for granted, so it takes a little bit of a it's a little bit of a change, right? A little bit of a concept change there. So kudos to you guys for taking the leap and giving it a shot, right? You don't know what you don't know. You hear the horror stories, you hear the home runs, like which one is going to happen for you guys. So kudos for you guys for taking that chance. And it looks like it's turned out really really well. So as far as the role, let's help people describe this. Is are the setters, are they calling like cold lists? Are these inbound leads coming from paid ads? What's the typical setup? What kind of scenario are they coming in? Is it like an inbound lead setting scenario, or is it like a cold lead, warm it up, qualify and handoffs kind of scenario?
Yeah, great question. And going back to your point in terms of quality, the leads that we have here at Well Factory, they're really warm leads. And they come through paid ads. They have a download or a book or something free on the front end to give us their information. They'll ask a couple qualifying questions as well. And those are the leads that these callers are calling on. So they're fresh leads, people that downloaded the guide either yesterday or last week. And their whole role is to just set appointments for the setters. So they're doing the initial outreach, seeing if this is something or service that our leads would be interested in. And they're setting up for 20 to 30-minute appointment for the setters who will then set it to a closer to one call close. So it's kind of a three-part close. But going back to your point of quality, these are warm leads. They're smart, savvy entrepreneurs. And I was just so worried about, again, how are they going to be handled from a quality standpoint? And the guys that we have just knocked it out of the park. They just totally eliminated my preconceived notions of how I thought this was going to go.
Yeah, 100%. Because, I think we have a similar challenge, on my team. Like just, using myself as an example, my whole ISA team and even my closing team is Mexico based. And they're selling to salespeople, right? We're trying to get people, hire for this setting role. If you're hiring an appointment setter, it's because you're in sales, right? And so we're selling to salespeople, right? So someone with a really thick accent that's rough around the edges, that doesn't understand, sarcasm. Sarcasm's a very US thing, right? Like that kind of expression, the lingo. It's just not going to fly unless you can kind of navigate those waters. And, it just helps. Every bit of that helps. I think when you're in a more of a B2C scenario, maybe that matters a little bit less. But when you're B2B, like talking to a professional salesperson on the other end, you got to impress, right? You got to impress, got to make a good first impression. You're kind of representing the brand right off the get-go, right? So I definitely understand that concern. And yeah, I'm certain, that we got great people that can do as good a job, if not better, than a lot of the US based folks. And I also want to comment on another part of your setup, which I think is really interesting. A lot of times, teams when they approach us are kind of under this idea that they're going to replace their in-house setters. And that's not usually the case, right? Actually, the larger teams, the more mature organizations, they usually augment the exist because they have an in-house, very, a competent, very trustworthy, experienced setting team. But that in-house setting team, their whole activity set gets elevated, right? They've got the remote setters doing everything so that they're maximizing the time of that in-house setting team. It's really frequent with real estate teams, right? They usually have even the largest teams will usually have like one in-house setting person, like one in-house setter, but they might be spending 20, 30, 40, 50,000 a month on Zillow leads, Realtor.com leads, Google pay-per-click, Meta, whatever you name it, right? And they want to make sure they get the best ones over to their in-house setter. But it's a numbers game. Like, how do you use that resource the most efficiently? And for a lot of them, it is getting a remote setter, right? To talk to make the 200 calls, to have the 25 conversations. They're like, okay, these are the three people the in-house setter should talk to. Like, these are the three most qualified. These are the money calls, handing them off, right? So a lot of teams are surprised by that, but a lot of organizations set it up that way. The remote setter, they go into it without even thinking of replacing it. It's augmenting that. Did you guys go into it thinking that way, or is that just how it worked out?
We definitely didn't go into it thinking that way, but that was, I mean, it was an immediate benefit that I noticed right away with the current setters. To your point, that these outbound callers allow the setters to focus on those highest producing activities as opposed to making calls to the outbound list. So yeah, and it's pretty cool to see, the setters take a little bit more ownership and leadership in leading those guys as well. So I think to your point, all around, it's not replacing, it's augmenting, and it's just lifting the rising tide raises the ships, or whatever they say. It really helped the whole team.
I love that. And another question about the workflow, because this is a scenario that always interests me because when you're paying money for those inbound leads, those lists cost a lot of money. Those lists are not cheap, man. They're not like cold, not the phone book. You're not calling the phone book, calling a list of highly qualified folks. Are they mostly focusing on brand new inbound opportunities, or are they going back and hitting up the pond, the uncontacted, the unattended appointments? How have you guys set them up to make sure they're always trying to find, qualified people?
Yeah. Again, great question. And it's a little bit of both. Initially, we were looking at this from just the brand new leads that are coming in. We get thousands of leads, we need someone to call them. But now we're kind of to a point where we call it database mining or fishing from the pond. Who are those people that are already in the database that have engaged or done one action or another that these outbound callers can also call to? So not just fresh new leads that are coming in, which are awesome, but also those buyers that are a little bit farther in their journey, that are a bit more matured, a bit more acclimated to our process, that maybe they just got lost in the CRM somewhere, where that's where these outbound callers are able to dig through the CRM, and find those opportunities that otherwise would have just sat there.
I love it, Jordan. And so tell me, so you guys have gone through now. It's like first generation. Now you got a second generation. How has that worked out for you guys? You want to walk us through what the process has been because you started with two. You hired two people initially, right?
Exactly. And really we look at it from an ROI perspective, are the dollars that are these reps paying for themselves and more? And we saw that pretty quickly. I mean, within 2 or 3 weeks, we saw, that return on investment. So when we're getting a good return, what do? Just buy more. So that's exactly what we did. So I think we had the first two for about 3 weeks or 4 weeks. And then we decided to pull the trigger on three more. And they actually were able to get on the phones for this week. And that was the other thing. I was really surprised and impressed with how quick they were able to onboard. I mean, we got them from the first kickoff meeting to being on the calls today, and it was 4 days, not even 4 days. So again, just the time from onboarding to training to ROI, it's been pretty quick. When it's that quick, we want to do more.
I love it. Yeah, because you guys, don't hesitate when something's working, you hit the accelerator. And we see that with a lot of those more, online teams, folks that are more focused on ROI, laser focused on that. It's great to see. I love it, and we love to support it, and we're there to help you guys. And I think you nailed it. A good chunk of our value add, of our value proposition, is to make the process of hiring people, training and onboarding them as fast and as seamless as possible, right? As fast and as seamless as possible. So you guys can focus on the highest ROI activity, which, like you mentioned, Jordan, isn't tracking timesheets, isn't sorting through 100 resumes. That's probably not your highest value activity for you guys at your company. It is getting qualified setters and talking to clients. Like that is your highest value activity. It's not a lot of HR stuff to make sure you have great people always ready to staff up. So, but Gordon, tell us, in summary, what would you say? What have been the results? How would you quantify? How would you describe the results you guys have gotten from building this setting? It's still early. You guys have a 5-person team. Three of them arrived today, but this week. But with the people first generation, how would you quantify those results?
Man, I mean, it's really hard to put a dollar amount to it because there's so many other benefits other than just the deals that they bring to us. I mean, if we're looking at it purely from a dollar for dollar standpoint, we're getting at least a 2x return on investment with these guys, if not more. And that's a dollar for dollar in our first, 6 weeks of this. But there's so many other benefits to your point of raising the whole team, database mining to maybe just giving us a better perspective on the potential of what international colors and what an international team can do. Um, so that'd probably be the best way to describe it. But like I said, I mean, you guys have totally just transformed our numbers. I mean, from an outbound dial perspective, we're doing almost 4x of what we did previously. So again, dollar for dollar, a little more than 2x at this point, but I imagine that'll continue to increase.
I love it. I love it. And when you're looking at those leading indicators, you're like, hey, whoa, this is if this is early on, that's only going to multiply, right? As we get more experience and more comfort with these folks. So immediately you got to know your numbers to know how to hit the accelerator, right? So really impressed with the ways you guys are running the team. Jordan, appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. And one last question, final question. What would you say to someone that is kind of on the fence, considering hiring PowerISA to fulfill this appointment setting ISA role? What would you say to that?
You have so little to lose and so much to gain. Like we should have done this many, many months ago, if not years ago. Like the numbers just make sense. And there was so much uncertainty from me, just preconceived things that I think just here in the States that we have about these international callers and working with Power ISA, it's been nothing but smooth sailing and just I've been impressed over and over again. And even though there's a lot of unknowns, I'm fully confident that Power ISA, they know what they're doing. They've already paid for themselves, for lack of a better term, and just don't let those preconceived notions get to you. Because I've been proved wrong and continue to be proved wrong every single day working with these guys. And we're up to 5 callers now. We'll probably bring in a couple more over the next couple of weeks. And I mean, as long as we keep getting an ROI, we'll keep running. So.
I love it. Awesome. Jordan, thank you so much. Appreciate the time. And thanks for, telling your story.
Yeah, thanks, Gustavo. I'm sure we'll talk again.